All right, let's kick this thing off.
Let's do it.
Coffee with the Coaches.
I got the bed.
Damn it, I should have pulled this up. Episode 9?
Yes.
Okay. Man, it's getting easier.
So 9.
Coffee with the Coaches, episode 9. Coming to you once again from the Mega Desk.
Mega Desk.
Hit the bell. There it is. That was the latest.
No, it's the best. It's so historical.
Yeah, this is actually a historical part of this building from, what was it, 1950 something when they built this building.
Who knows?
I don't know how old the actual bell is,
it may not be
but
that
I was just looking at that up there.
It
That
looks
looked like
pretty
that
old.
mule.
when we bought the building, that bell was hanging from one of the doors. And it just sounds so quaint. I can't bring myself to throw it away. I need to just hang it back
You
on
know
the
what
door.
it is, don't you? It's a Salvation Army bell.
It's our good intro.
Steve Sykes, or I don't know, shit.
Well,
Yeah, he's the guy
a
that used to
bell
own
like
the
the
building.
Salvation Army.
Yeah.
Or they may, I don't know.
I
Did they
think
have?
yeah, she works for. She does a lot of work with the Salvation Army.
Oh, the
like
lady that used to-
Oh.
yeah.
We just learned
You
something
see her
about the
outside
bell.
Stands all the time, like at
But it was
Christmas
hanging
time,
on
ringing
the
bell.
door.
But I'm just saying that's a Salvation Army bell.
Well, if you guys want it back, you'll have to fight it.
We're carrying it on.
All right, well, introductions quickly. On microphone number 1, it's me. My name's Michael. On microphone number 2, we've got Pageroo.
Hola.
And then on number 3, we've got
Ada May.
a special guest, Ada J.
Hey, Jay.
Is this your third time on the podcast?
It's like my fourth, I think.
Is it
Third,
fourth?
Fourth, yeah.
You're pretty much a regular.
You're laughing about my age.
I'm laughing at this nickname that somebody gave Ada. What is he? A guy from the Warming Center?
Yeah.
He said he calls her Ada May because she may be on time or she may not. Ada may not.
I was like, yeah, that's me.
I was like, I died. I was like, that is so accurate.
Because she's
for you.
always called me Ada May.
That's hilarious. Well, I know
tell you, Ada.
last week we had set up a jiu-jitsu seminar type of thing over in Dexter. And I don't remember if it was supposed to be 1:15, but I thought, well, if we said 1:15, then Ada will be there about 1:35. So I took off late. I think I left here at like 1:10, and I was like, oh, I'll still be there before Ada. But apparently Ada actually got there early this time.
Ada has been on time
So
for everything.
I looked like a huge asshole rolling in there super
Like,
late.
finally, somebody other than me.
You didn't even give the instructor warning that you were going to learn late because you knew Ada was going to be late.
Well, I
He
did.
sent a message when
I
he was
did
on there
text him
today.
and let him
No.
know, but I did my best. But still, I thought there was no way that Ada was going to beat me, and she did.
Well, see, I don't like making New Year's resolutions because I think they're a bunch of crap. But however, I did like tell myself subconsciously, I got to make a change this year with my on-time shit. I mean, I'm 41
You've been
years old.
killing it, too.
And I've been, so I didn't want to like bust my balls and say I'm going to do this and then not do it. But subconsciously, I'm killing it.
Yeah,
Like
you
this.
are.
Well, clearly
I'm so
you're doing
proud of
better than
you.
me.
5:30 in the morning, like for the past 6-7 mornings. No, minus Sunday, without an alarm clock, like just automatically waking up.
You have been getting up really early. Like, I'll text
Yeah.
you at 6 a.m. and you're like, okay, I'll be there. And I'm like, what?
And it's like every morning my eyes just been popping up. I'm like, whoa, this is getting a little scary.
You're getting better in your old age.
I'm growing up.
You said you're 41.
Uh-huh.
Are you sure?
I'm positive 79.
Are you sure about that?
79.
Now do the math. Please do the math.
Well, for this particular episode, we're doing something a little different. We're not coming in with a topic today. We've just got a big mess of topics right here in the middle of the table.
Pile of good questions.
Yeah, and we're just going to pull some questions and we'll talk about them. And we're not really doing anything super serious or specific today.
It'll be fun to listen to. You guys will get some learning on.
We might be ridiculous and we might be educational, and
There's a little of both.
who knows.
There is a little bit of both in that pile.
Well, I'm drinking coffee. Ada's drinking coffee.
I'm drinking.
What are you drinking, Paige?
I made some coffee, but it's already cold.
Oh, this is actually Coffee with the Coaches for
I'm
the first
not-
time in a long time.
I'm not going to drink it, though.
Oh, well, we can at least toast.
It's cold.
Do you want to drink my strawberry bonbon? Because what it tastes like. I know it's kind of like, but
What?
yeah.
It's like a latte or something?
No, it's like a strawberry bonbon. Try it.
Well, I'm just drinking this coffee to keep me alive because
Ugh.
That's what I said. It tastes like a
Weird.
Valentine's bonbon.
this caffeine is keeping me alive because I woke up randomly at 2:30 this morning and couldn't go back to sleep. So I'm dying here.
You've done that a
Yeah,
few times.
Michael
the past
came in
couple
this
weeks.
morning.
My
like-
sleep schedule's been messed up for a
noticed.
while. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, not that I noticed, but yeah, I've heard you talk about waking up in the middle of the night a couple of times the past month or so.
Notice how grouchy I've been
A
recently?
little bit. Seen that look on your face. Yep, you ain't had to sleep.
I was in here being all glum and everything this morning in Paige's class, and she was like, "What's your problem? You're grouchy today." Actually, it wasn't Paige; it was Mike.
He's like, I'm the grouchy one around here.
Gosh.
You have been dethroned, Mike.
All right.
Who's going to pull our first topic?
I think
you go.
you should, because we know most of them.
Oh,
I
okay.
wrote a few down.
Is there any
that Ada didn't know
particular?
about. No, you just grab a random one.
Are we just
All right,
going
we're just,
to-
So what we're doing is we're drawing random topics that are folded up in the middle of the table, and we're just gonna. Some of them are questions, some of them are like, they're mostly questions, yeah. And we'll just kind of talk about the subject. So we'll let Michael give his answer or opinion first, and then we can chat about it. Let's try to not spend any longer than a couple minutes on one topic at a time.
So we could do this like, what's the game where you have the timer and you've got, I guess that's probably a lot of
Don't know.
games, but
Like Ben Bergeron does this, and he calls it a 2-minute drill, but it usually goes like 5 minutes.
A 2-minute drill.
We'll try to stick it at a 2-minute drill.
When I
I'll
give
ring
y'all
the bell
sign.
when the time's up.
okay. All right, so here's the question. It's really funny, this is the first one. Why is it important to be on time?
Parade.
I swear, that's actually what it says.
That's funny.
Why is it, Michael?
For what? For work?
In general, anywhere, anytime you plan to be somewhere at a certain time.
Oh man, I don't know. I've actually changed a lot on this. I used to be late for everything.
Huh? Really?
And yeah,
For real?
yeah.
Huh.
Before I started this, I mean, I was always punctual for work, but when it came to social events, I always really preferred to be late because I didn't want to be the first one there rolling up, or just
Yeah.
nothing going on. And
Makes sense.
so Corey and I used to get into a lot of arguments about we need to be there on time, and I'm like, well, it's a party. You can show up whenever. But yeah, as far as work, I'm always very punctual with that.
Yeah, not
So-
me so much.
Important to be on time because I feel like it's disrespectful to other people
Yeah, that's my
to be
exact
rolling
thing.
in late on things, especially in. And I guess you could carry this over to parties as well, but specifically with work or engagements that have a time frame on them, it's really
CrossFit
disrespectful to other people to be
It is.
rolling in late, or if they're waiting on you, or I don't know.
Or to
there's-
interrupt a coach's class, right?
yeah, if we're talking about CrossFit classes, it's really disruptive to be rolling in late. Now that being said, I mean I like throwing caveats in because there are some people that just they're late getting out of work or they're having to pick up the kids or something, and I'd rather late than never in
Just
some of
don't
those
be an
cases.
Ada.
But
Right.
yeah, if you're just perpetually late all the time, just because
Yeah, if you're a repeat offender, it's a
Yeah.
sign.
so I mean, there's definitely a caveat there, but that's my thought on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a sign of respect, 100%. I used to when I worked at Lambert's, I'd show up 3 minutes until we opened or something. So I just walk in, put my bow tie on, and go. Just because I could have gotten there earlier and helped do some stuff beforehand. I kind of regret that, and so I feel it is definitely a sign of respect. And so our 2 minutes is up. Do you
Ding,
have
ding,
anything
ding,
to
ding.
add to that, Ada?
I was going to come up with a question.
Okay. Yeah, Ada has done a total 180. She's on time all the time now. But yeah, it's just respectful to be on time, and if you can help it,
And all you
like
people
Michael
out there,
said.
I'm sorry for disrespecting everybody the last 41 years of my life.
The last 41 years. There are
Trying to make
certain
a change.
caveats, some people have to drop their kids off or pick them up or something. That's totally understandable. But yeah, just try to be on
Be an
time.
Ada.
All right, I'll pull one out. All right. Why is it so important to learn technique rather than just go through the motions? All right. New time. The technique aspect of things is extremely important just because injury prevention. This is like beating a dead horse. We talk about it a lot. There's certain times where you should just go through the motions, but you have to drill and learn these certain things before you can start adding weight, and once you get the technique dialed in, then you can just kind of start going through the motions. It's just really hard to add much more to that because it's a pretty simple one. What about you, Michael? Do you have any extra input to add to that?
Probably not any extra, but maybe just a little clarification. I think it's the absolute paramount importance for anybody doing something as a beginner. If
Yeah.
you're just getting started with something, that needs to be almost your entire focus. And then from there, as you said, as you get more familiar with the technique and proficient with the technique, then start building on it from there.
Yeah. Me being in CrossFit for like 4 years now, like I've had to stop 2 or 3 times because I get too comfortable, I guess, and thinking that I know, and then realize that I really don't know the technique. And
Yeah.
and then have to stop and take my weights back down and start over with it. A lot of times I've had to do that.
Yeah. There's definitely certain things and like movements where you realize, oh crap, I've been doing this kind of wrong for a long time, and then it's hard to step back and break that habit.
That's a good segue, and this is something that Courtney and I happened to be talking about last night, about open-mindedness and willingness to relearn some things, and not being so staunch in the things that you think you know. And I remember, it's probably been 8 or 9 years ago now, there was a pretty popular Facebook group called I Fucking Love Science. Do you guys remember that? Did you ever follow that?
Yeah, I follow it.
There was a lot of really good things from that I saw on there, and I remember this one particular thing that I shared from that page that pops up on my timeline every year, but it said, the illiterate of the 21st century won't be the people that can't read or write. It's going to be the people that don't have the ability to learn and then unlearn and then relearn. And I think that's really serious because with the advances of modern science and technology and all that, like we're just exponentially increasing our ability to observe the world. And as we find new ways to see what's real and what's not, it's going to change the things that we know to be true. And so, we can't be too staunch in these things that we knew when we were young, because science is going to prove some things that we thought were true
Exactly.
that they weren't true. So,
Yeah.
we need to maintain some open-mindedness. And I'm running over my time now,
Ding, ding,
so I got to
ding.
tap
Yep.
out.
For sure. Oh, wait, you just pick one. I'm sorry.
I was like, how are you going to
You
do my
pick your
pick?
own.
Okay, what do we got here? When should I increase to a heavier weight on lifting?
On
CrossFit?
X movement, whatever.
Paige wrote these out. Okay. On whatever movement.
Yeah. This is my
So the question is,
brain
when
dump.
should I increase to a heavier weight? So let me restart my little clock here. On me, whenever my coach tells me to. I basically just asked both my coaches, what should I do on this?
Ada's certainly one of those that's like she'll like do the lift and then you're just like, Ada, you need to go heavier. And she's like, what? Oh, okay.
You should tell me.
Like, there's definitely some of those people out there. So this question is specifically for people like that who need to go heavier probably. And
Like, because I
aren't.
feel like I could go heavier on a lot of stuff, but I don't. I also feel like my technique isn't, proper on a lot of stuff, or I doubt myself a lot.
Yeah.
Where y'all can come in and be like, if I just say, hey, what should I lift, and y'all tell me, then I know I got that. I know I got this,
Yeah.
with no questions in my mind. But if I go on my own thoughts on it, I'm like, ooh, I
Our
don't
words
know.
give you the confidence.
right. I need that boost.
Well, that's nice. That's flattering.
Yeah.
But yeah, you.
'Cause I know y'all ain't gonna let me do more than what I can do. Because you
And
work
that's the
with me
thing is
every
like
day.
once you've done so many, going back to the technique thing, once you've done something so many times and you've got that technique drilled in, you know what feels off. So you know when you start increasing weight if it just feels off or weird as you go heavier. So you kind of have an understanding of if it's breaking down or not. That specific question, when should I go heavier? Well, on days when, we're at the whiteboard and we're like, this is a day where you need to go heavy. You need to try to push it on this or that. Like those are the days. Sometimes it can be kind of unclear because we're like, go really go heavy, but like, don't make it a max effort attempt. And some people just don't really know where their max is on certain things. So when you're newer, it's easier to make more progressions over and over. So like you could maybe like go almost max if you've got that technique dialed in. So you can go close to your max a little more often because your max is just, your ceiling is going to keep raising faster than it is for other people.
That's really the value of having regular coaches and regular clients
That's
and
what
all
I
that,
love
because
about CrossFit.
I really can't imagine running a CrossFit gym or being a coach in one of these areas like, I don't know, these touristy areas like Palm Beach, Florida, or something like that, where you're every day you're dealing with somebody new and you have no coach-client relationship to build at all. That would have to be really tough as a coach because you don't really know where people are coming from. You don't know where they've been or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So there's some real value in being able to build this relationship over time.
I remember hearing about this gym in Vegas that they're pretty much all it is drop-ins. Like people just come in and drop in. I was like, that
seems like
terrifying.
a nightmare to me.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh my, I bet so many people
I can
mess
only imagine
themselves
y'all
up in
as
there.
coaches on that. Yeah.
But it's like a bunch of like CrossFit seminar staff that work there. So I've assumed that they kind of keep things in check. But I'm just like, whew, I'd be.
Well, from a coaching perspective, I think the importance is a relationship over time. I can't possibly,
together.
I can't possibly fix anybody's movement on one day. It's
I can imagine going into
there's a
another gym,
progression
taking
to
another
everything.
coach's, like, asking another coach, he don't know me. Man,
Yeah.
I would feel so
Yeah.
uncomfortable, like so out of my skin doing that.
Yeah.
It's a progression over time, and if you've never seen anybody until today, like, you really have no idea what they're working with. And of course, you can say some things, but I don't think it really matters that much.
Yeah. All right. Next, Michael. We're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we are.
We got to give ourselves permission to run over a little bit.
I gave you permission. I ain't failed y'all yet.
Okay, why are certain shoes important? And then in parentheses, we've got lifters, flat shoes, running shoes, etc.
Yeah, I'm 4.5 years into it, and I just now learned why lifters are important.
This would probably be one for you guys then, because I'm the guy that does literally everything in
the same
shoe.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, I mean, that's kind of the important part of the reason why I train. And I know you guys train for a different reason. So, I mean, I think this question is really relative. So, I mean, I guess to give my answer, the reason why I do everything in the same pair of shoes is because these are the types of shoes that I wear everywhere.
Yeah.
That's it. That's really what it boils down to.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I do CrossFit is for just general real world fitness. And so, if I need to take off running for any reason, these are the shoes I'm going to be wearing.
Yeah.
If I've got to jump over something or pick something up, these are the shoes I'm going to be wearing. I wear the same types of shoes all the time. So that's
makes
why.
sense. That does make sense.
Yeah.
That's why I do what I do.
Well, now we know what Michael does, what he does.
That's why we know.
Well
Okay,
then.
then. All right.
But see, you guys are coming from a different perspective. You guys
No,
are
I'm
training.
with you. I'm with you 100%. I think everybody should pretty much do pretty much everything in the same shoe unless you're training for a very specific sport. Like Ada and I are going to wear lifters for powerlifting.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, so like we'll have lifters on for some powerlifting movements, and Ada honestly probably doesn't need them as much as I do, just because my ankles are like brick walls, and so Ada has very good ankle mobility. So it just kind of depends on your certain mobility and restrictions and stuff. And if you're one of those people you kind of have a question in your mind about that, well, you can ask Michael or I, and we can give you some mobility tests to see if you need to do something like that. But pretty generally, wearing some sort of this is kind of where this question came from, is pretty generally you need to be wearing some sort of flat-soled shoe that your foot can be working to do your movements, like to do your daily movements. So if you have a shoe that either has like an elevated heel all the time, or you have a shoe that is very soft on the bottom, like a running shoe, and you're wearing those all the time, your foot is not working to its full capability. And so like you need to be training those muscles in the arch of your foot, around your toes, the top of your foot, and so on to work properly. So like one of the worst things, this is, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh my God, I've been doing this wrong my whole life. Like one of the worst things you can do is wear a soft-soled running shoe all day long if you have a job where you're just on your feet all day, because your foot is not actually working to grip the ground and to control movement in itself. Like it's just like anything else.
Laying in bed and not doing any kind of
Right,
exercise.
right.
Yeah, it would be like wearing a cast on your arm all the time.
Yes, yeah, or
That's
wearing like a back brace whenever like your back hurts, so you just wear a back brace all the time, and then your muscles just kind of atrophy. They don't get used to working and bracing your core on their own. So the same thing can happen in your foot. And so like, yeah, if you're gonna run miles and miles and miles, it's important to have a running shoe. But if you're just running like a few miles at a time, and you're not running super often, then some sort of flat-soled shoe is just fine, just for your daily movements.
Like I never understood whenever I first started how you tell me not to use a weight belt, And now that I call it my back brace.
Should I put my back brace on? I'm like, okay, Grandma.
And now that we're lifting so heavy, I'm like, okay, because I can do it without the back brace,
Yeah.
the weight belt.
Yeah.
But when we get heavier, it does help me keep my form. But
Yeah.
I can see myself getting very comfortable wearing that. Same with the shoe and not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like
Yeah.
I can get complacent in it.
Well, you got to think. I mean, the reason why we do these exercises is to strengthen our bodies. And so, for somebody that's in the first year, I would even say the first 2 years,
Yeah.
I'd really try to get them to get rid of the brace,
Or not even get
now you've got me saying it. But
don't even get
the
one.
belt.
It was like my third year before y'all would even let me wear it in the gym. So
Yeah, because I mean,
and it made sense as well.
yeah,
now.
because you've got to strengthen those muscles to be able to do what they need to do. And so, like Paige said, if you're constantly wearing the brace or the belt, then those muscles aren't doing the work that they would actually do.
Yeah. Okay, time.
Ding, ding, ding.
Y'all have more questions on that, you can ask us. Is it my turn? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Ooh. When is being competitive helpful, and when does it hold people back?
That's a good question.
All right, so being competitive, I think, is helpful when you are at the point where you feel like you're not necessarily progressing and you need to take that extra step, or you feel like you are, you're just plateaued basically, and you're not making some forward progress. So it's important to like find someone that's kind of on par with you and try to kind of chase them or beat them every once in a while. And I think it's good to like get that competitive itch at least once a week. Like there should be one workout throughout the week where you really like try to push yourself and push your limits just a little bit within the safe limits, and that can help you to kind of strive forward and make that last little bit of progress that you've kind of been lacking because you haven't given yourself that extra oomph yet. And then when does it hold people back? Well, the people that are competitive every single day and trying to test.
You remember that dumb hashtag compete every day that used to be a thing?
Yeah. And like that, it depends on how you perceive that
of course,
that
yeah.
phrase, of course. But most people see it as compete every day. Yeah, go hard all the time. Well, it could be competitive with yourself just to like lay back, like to not compete. That can be something that's hard. That can be hard for some people. So you're competing with yourself to not compete. But so it's important to not let it hold you back by competing all the time. There's a difference versus like training and competing. If you're constantly competing, you're not actually progressing because you're not focusing on improving your breathing, your bracing, your pacing, your technique, and yada yada. So that's when it can really hold people back. So I think it's important to get a little competitive, like once a week, to get that stimulus, that intense stimulus, but it can also hold you back and prevent you from getting that stimulus if you do it day in and day out.
Yeah, I guess you've got a pyramid, and those first two questions we had about form and technique, that would be the base of the pyramid. What was the second question? I think it was when to add weight.
Yeah.
Like your proficiency with things. Like if your if your technique is solid, your proficiency is good, and you're comfortable with things, then you can really build on that with some competitiveness. That's probably the way I would sum it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you said something about plateau, that's where I feel like I've kind of been at for like the last year. Because I quit smoking, quit drinking sodas and all that. It's been almost 5 years now. But I just felt like I wasn't going anywhere. And then I got to thinking in my head, I can do better than what I've been doing. I can go a little harder.
Like you were saying earlier, you were like, I see whenever Heather Williams is supposed to score in a workout, Ada's like, well, I got to do it, and I got to try to chase her. Because you're getting at that higher level of fitness. Yeah, you're getting at that higher level of fitness where you can like start chasing Heather. And so like that's a good one. It's always good to have somebody that's a little bit better than you and try to strive towards them, or somebody that's like on par with you. You have other strengths versus
she's like
weaknesses.
half my weight and she can lift everything I can. I'm like, man.
You got her on a few things. So yeah,
she's so good.
It's important to get a taste of it every once in a while, but you can't do it every day and just start pounding on too much volume, obsessing about it. You're not going to be the best. There always needs to be a few people that are 2 steps ahead of you in every movement. You're going to be ahead of other people in certain things, and you need to have other people that are ahead of you in other things. And so it's important to keep that in mind.
Heather Williams, you're my idol, by the way.
All right, Ada.
Oh, yeah, stop. Reset. Okay. Is it possible to compete too little?
So that kind of goes hand in hand with that first one.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Paige, I'm going to let you answer that one since you did so well on the one before.
Oh, I think you got a good answer for that one, I'm sure.
Is it possible to compete too little? Yeah, I mean, if you get complacent where you're at and you don't really, like you said, once a week is a good, healthy range, I think. To where before I was like, I ain't trying to make it to the games, for the last 3 years, my biggest saying. Really, I mean, I'm not trying to make it to the games, but I am trying to make it somewhere. I'm not paying for CrossFit for nothing. That's kind of where I was for like the last year and a half. I'm just paying to go. But yeah, I'm trying to make it somewhere. So yeah, I think it's important to compete a little bit.
What about you, Michael?
I'm probably the outlier on this one because I don't feel any need to compete these days. I just don't feel like it brings me any benefit or joy these days. So I'm probably the outlier on it.
Yeah.
You know, I have some other drive, and I know I was talking shit about the word motivation. I don't want to use the word motivation, but you know, I guess there's other reasons why I do it.
You're the same way
That
with
are
jiu-jitsu, too.
big- Yeah, I
Because
mean,
you're just
same
okay
thing with
with-
jiu-jitsu. Like that seems like it can really take over as a competitive idea or drive, but it's one of those things that if I think too competitively about it, it kind of frustrates
Ruins it.
me, and you know, it does kind of ruin the thing for me. So I pull back on competitiveness. So you know, it's just
But
two
it's
sides
cool.
of the coin, I guess.
It's cool to have your vibe around, too, though. Like me
Mm-hmm.
as a person sitting there, or being in class, both classes with you, it's like more of a... It sets me down and thinks, okay, well, he's really thinking this through, and he can talk me through. You know, he takes his time with it, and he actually takes in the information to where I'm just like, well,
I know
that's a good thing.
There's a
have
lot of
around.
different learning styles, and I guess mine just isn't there, at least not at this point in my life.
Well, just from an outsider's perspective, I see you, like, you may not think you do, but I see you, like, kind of get friendly competition going between, like, you know, like if we're skiing or rowing
Yeah.
or something, like you'll go, you know, if you're ever side by side with like Chris or Ryan or Cody or somebody, or like, you know, like to like
Push somebody
cleans, for
else.
instance, today. So like, I think if Ryan had been in the same class with you, I bet you and Ryan probably would have like kind of like pushed each other a little bit to like keep up with one another, like a little bit. And so that kind of helps keep you progressing somewhat also. And like, you know, I think the way you might be thinking about it in competitive terms is like, I got to beat that person or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like you're a good balance of like just friendly competition where you have fun, you kind of push each other to do it, and you'll kind of egg him on to do something, he'll egg you on to do it, and you'll do it, and he will do it, and you kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
So you have that touch of competitiveness just in a very fun way. So you have the right mindset about it. Like that's the kind of competitiveness that this needs to be. Like this is what we're talking about anyway.
Yeah.
Like I never would have done that workout that we did on the bike and the bench press.
Yeah,
If
like-
you wouldn't have been like I knew I had to keep up with
Come
you a
on,
little
Ada,
bit.
come on.
Yeah, that was a stupid workout, by the way.
That was fun. What are you talking about? And I didn't feel like that was competitive at all. I was just
No, but I
nice to
couldn't
stay
quit,
moving.
you know?
Yeah. But if Ada put more weight on the bar than you, I bet you would have added a little bit at least.
I don't even try to keep up with Ada. I learned my lesson a long time ago with that one.
Anyway,
But I see what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely
just
some
whatever you're
good,
passionate about.
There's
Yeah.
some good situations to where you can get a little more of a push by having somebody
Mm-hmm.
close to you that's in your realm. I definitely see what you're saying. And you're right. You know, I'm sure I'm pulling back on kind of an immature idea of competitiveness, maybe. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you have a very
You
good,
make it fun.
you have a good competitive approach.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right, Michael,
All right, let's see what we got.
that was like 5 minutes. How did it just say 2?
I don't know.
You
'Cause
started that
I
one
started
late.
late, yeah.
Who wrote this? Who is Coach Mackel's favorite Johnson? Ada, you're my only Johnson.
Yes,
my
that's what there it was.
I was actually thinking about that the other day because I guess, you know, you came in at the 3:30 class and I was like, my favorite Johnson. And then you hit me with I better be your only Johnson. And then I
People
was
are probably
thinking,
like, huh?
do I actually know any other Johnsons?
I hope nobody with the last name of Johnson plans on coming to CrossFit anytime soon.
Because you
We're
don't
gonna have
want
to
to
talk.
Ada's turn.
We're gonna have to talk. Did you change your name?
All right, Michael, you can go again. That
Yeah.
one wasn't fair.
Oh, that was great. That was my best one. Okay.
We don't have to do all this, by the
Oh.
way. We might be running close. Uh-oh, is it another quack?
No, it's how do I increase my cardio? It sucks. So I kind of went off on this one a couple podcasts ago, but this is
Some of
one,
y'all need to hear it again.
Yeah, this is one this is a specific situation that I'm talking about here, but I typically get this question from somebody who's been doing CrossFit pretty regularly for a couple of years. They'll come to me and they'll be like, man, my cardio really sucks. I need to start doing some extra work. And I usually dig in right away because I'm like, okay, hold on. Why do you think your cardio sucks? And then their response will be something like, well, you know, that workout we did last Monday, it had me out of breath. I was breathing hard and my heart rate was high. And I'm like, hold on. That was the point of that workout last Monday. And then so I dig in a little more and I say, look, you know, when you first started CrossFit, your conditioning was bad, your strength was low, and so you probably gassed out in the warm up. We probably got halfway through the warm up and you were just like breathing hard and your heart rate was high and you were just like, man, I don't know if I can do anymore. But over time, you stayed consistent, you continued coming in, and your strength improved and your conditioning improved and you got better at all this stuff. And so now you're able to lift heavier in the workout. You're able to go faster and harder in the workout. And so your heart rate's still going to be up. You're still going to be breathing hard. You're still going to be tired. And you can actually push harder now than you could when you were new because you've got extra strength and conditioning and all this. And I have to say, look, you're never going to get to the point where CrossFit is easy. The stronger you get, the more well-conditioned you get, and the better you get at CrossFit, the harder you can push and the more out of breath you can be and the higher your heart rate can go and all of this stuff. So it's just an adjustment of your expectations is all it is.
That's right.
And then, you think of any of those competitive CrossFit Games athletes like Matt Fraser. Look at him at the end of one of those events. Like, dude's pancaked on the floor with tomato face and all this because he gave
hard.
it everything he had. Like, he's the fittest man in the world. And there he is out of breath and just completely gassed out after, one of those events.
Yeah. This kind of goes back to like when should you either like add weight or be a little competitive or add some intensity into the workouts. Like if you never get like that, you need to probably turn up the heat a little bit.
Go to Zumba.
You need to you need to get like that. I don't know. I've done Zumba before and I was like
Zumba's no joke. I know we like to talk trash about Zumba, but that's
we talk
no
a lot
joke.
of shit on it, but it's hard. But yeah, like you need to push every once in a while. And I will actually add a little caveat to that a lot of times I actually hear that from people who come like twice a week and then they're complaining about their cardio not being very good, and I'm like, well, you probably need to work out more often.
Yeah.
So if kind of assess how consistently you come across the last few months. Like if you're only coming to the gym twice a week consistently, yeah, your cardio probably does kind of suck. You just need to come more often. That's who I hear that from sometimes.
I guess those people never tell me that.
See, I always say I smoked for 20 years, so that's the reason why my cardio is just... But
Yeah,
it's just an
Ada.
excuse. It really is not that bad. It's getting better.
Yeah.
But if it is a hard one, I can be like, I smoked for 20 years.
I mean, it's not great, but it's getting better.
This comes up with you and Darren quite a bit whenever we're doing jiu-jitsu. Is I hear both of you guys say you're out of shape or your cardio sucks. I'm like, no, we are going hard as hell. We're smashing each other.
It makes us feel better to
You're
say
good.
that, though.
I don't know why people like to say it. Like, it
both
just
old.
makes you feel
You're not-
worse when you just tell yourself that story.
You're
like,
not out of shape.
Start
Just
telling
explain, does it?
yeah,
We're
start telling
exercising. We're supposed to be breathing hard.
yourself. Right.
Yeah, but y'all keep exercising, keep rolling, and keep rolling. We're over in the corner like dying.
Nada's like, I can't.
I can't do it anymore. I smoked for 20 years.
A lot of it comes down to just understanding your pace,
Yeah.
understanding when to push
That's
and when
a
not
huge
to.
part. Is
Yeah.
your pace.
That's
That's
the
why
only
yours is
reason.
getting better.
That's
Yeah.
the only reason you see me going for another minute while you had to
and that's the
stop
only
is
reason
just
why I
because
make it, because I try to follow a little bit behind your pace. 'cause
I am
know that you're
very,
pacing.
very aware of my red line. Like
Yeah,
that's one
yeah.
thing I'm very good at is understanding where my levels are and how hard I can push and when I need to back off. Like there's plenty of
start that.
times that I pace too much because I almost always err on the side of saving a little gas in the tank so that I can finish, and that I'm just very aware of that. Anyway, I could
I've just
talk
learned that
about
this
that
last
more,
year
but-
on the pace thing, like my wall
Yeah.
balls, my rowing,
Yeah.
like everything
On
has gotten
rowing
so much easier
especially.
because I've put a pace to it. When you tell me the staying between like 25 and 27 on the strokes per
rower.
minute,
Mm-hmm.
like ever since you told me that, like I put that, and I know my pace is 23 between 23 and 25, and man, I kill it now on a rower. Like I can
Yeah.
actually breathe after 1,000 meters.
Right.
Well, I guess my approach is just, if most of the stuff that I do is pacing and I understand my pace very well, then it makes it easy for me to push and actually train my
Mind.
actually train my body. Like if I understand where my mind stays and like where my heart, or how to control my heart rate, or at least listen to it, then it makes it easier when I want to actually push a workout or push a pace. I can do it because I know my body's not going to crap out on me. So
Right.
Yeah.
Good lessons.
I just opened one that I feel like I would rather write an article on than talk about right now. So we'll do that later.
I'm going to sneak peek at this.
Why should I log my scores?
I don't. very rare.
Why don't you, Ada? Let's talk about that.
Because a lot of times, like, I feel like I probably may have miscounted, or, I mean, for different reasons, I don't log it. And I'm not really in the competitive stage right now so much, so, like, more or less, I'm trying to get competitive with myself. Like,
Yeah.
I use Heather Williams as, like, as an approach for me to get better, because
Right,
I know that
right.
she's really good.
Right.
And, like,
And
Ooh,
how
by this
do you-
logic, though,
Yeah, how do you
somebody
use
would be
Heather?
looking at you and chasing you.
Right, right.
Using
like
you as
that.
a.
Yes.
Like, I never thought of that.
Exactly. Now, how do
Well, there you
you
go.
how do you know what Heather does so that you can chase her?
Because she logs it.
Exactly.
Okay, so maybe I've been screwing up.
Exactly. So,
And I'm guilty of the same thing. I don't log anything hardly ever.
I
so
don't either, but that's a good reason to, though.
The argument goes both ways for sure. and,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure. I am one of those that's in the camp of like you should just every single day you come in and there's an option to log something, just log it. Just get that data, get used to doing it, get that data in the system, because if not, just to like help encourage like other people maybe to chase you or you to chase someone else, at least have that in the system so that you have like when you actually put fingers to keyboard and understand like how many rounds you're doing on a certain workout or something, you can in the future when you're writing down another
Go back
score,
to it.
yeah, you can either go back to it or you remember what you did just because you went through that motion of writing it down. So in the future you do a similar workout, you're writing that one down and you're like, okay, I think I did better this time than I did last time on this workout that was similar, or just anything along those lines to help yourself continue to progress, or at least just have that data in the system. So in the future, if you ever want to look back on it or you ever want to do another workout, or we happen to do a workout similar to that again, maybe it's not a benchmark now, but we might just return to it and do it anyway. Like there's been a lot of times where I've wanted to go back and repeat a workout.
Yeah.
And I will go through the whiteboard just to see what days people actually put a lot of scores in. Because if there's a really good workout but nobody logged their scores on it, I'm like, well, I want to repeat that workout, but I don't know what anybody did on it. So,
Yeah.
it's so important to put that stuff in there so you can
And
look
from
back.
the programming perspective, there's a real reason to
Mm-hmm.
try to get everybody to log scores, because it definitely lets us know as as programmers of the workouts, where to focus
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
what to work with and things like that. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there's a real argument to be had there.
And there's a certain like accountability to it as well. So if you start logging your scores more consistently, then it's kind of like writing down your meals over time. Like if you're writing that stuff down and logging it, like maybe that's your extra drive to actually go to the gym that day. If you're used to logging it and you feel like, oh, I didn't even like put a score in today because I didn't go to the gym. Well, like maybe it just kind of is some sort of an accountability factor to like get you in. That one might be a stretch, but seriously, like, somebody might be like, I didn't see your score on the whiteboard. Like if everybody starts logging it more regularly and stuff and interacting with other people, like encouraging other people, like it's just a great way to continue building that community of CrossFit. So if you guys can interact with each other and comment on each other's scores and like them and, just make that another component to our community. It makes the community grow as a whole. in
Sorry,
general.
my fellow CrossFitters, I will start logging.
All right, Ada.
Yes. Oh. All right. Oh, shoot. Let me see. Should I eat before or after my workout? How should I eat my food?
How do you eat your food,
How do
Ada?
you
Very badly.
No, I mean around your workout. Do you eat before or after? Or both?
Okay, so
or
breakfast
neither?
is my main meal of the day. Like, I have to have breakfast when I wake up. Whether it be a bowl of cereal, whether it be toast, whether it be a bagel, I've got to have breakfast before I leave my house. Other than that, I don't even want to talk about my diet because it's so bad. I'm just going to shut up on that. But, yeah, so Coach, just take it away.
Well, I know Michael's take on this one, and our take's pretty similar. Like, Michael, you're kind of in the camp. If you prefer to eat before, cool. If not, then
Oh yeah,
don't
it
worry
seems
about
like
it.
that everybody's got a different different need. Like some people feel like they need to have something in their stomach to work out, and then other people say they can't have anything in their stomach while they work out, otherwise they feel sick. So I mean, it's
I will say don't eat chili. Oatmeal right before a workout. It never works out good for me.
yeah. I mean, there's obviously marginal gains to be had if you get into the scientific like most efficient way to build muscle and this, that, and the other, but look up the term marginal gains. Like,
Yeah.
it's marginal for a
The
reason.
top few percent.
Yeah. So whatever, I don't know, whatever
floats your boat.
whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of those things that you should experiment with and see what works better for you. And don't let somebody tell you you need to eat breakfast or you can't eat breakfast. Try it. See what works best.
I will say it is extremely important though to at least try to have some food in your system within like an hour and a half to 2 hours around your workout. Like if you wake up in the morning and you work out at 5 a.m., you don't eat anything till like 9 a.m., you're doing yourself a disservice because that margin gets bigger and bigger the longer you go without fuel around training, especially in CrossFit training. So like you will make better gains or improve your body composition a little bit better if you have some sort of fuel around your workout. So at least within like, if you don't want to eat before you come in, cool, that's fine. At least drink some water. And when you get done, like try to choke down a protein shake or some oatmeal or something, just some sort of protein and carbs after your workout to help yourself recover, because you'll notice an improvement in your recovery, your blood sugar levels, and all kinds of stuff. And I will add a little bit something I've learned through my whole like HA process, the hypothalamic amenorrhea deal that you guys might have heard of, but for females especially, it's important to have a little bit of fuel before workouts just because it helps with your hormonal support. Because I noticed, like I was always in the camp that I would eat before I work out. Just I'm that type, I prefer it. But just witnessing a lot of other people's experiences in this group, a lot of women won't eat before they go out for like a run or some sort of training, and those micro deficits, so that training on very low fuel, a low fuel state in your body is actually kind of harmful for your hormones, especially as a female. So if you notice any like reproductive issues, that might be something to kind of take into consideration.
Is that the idea of fasted cardio?
Yeah,
Is that
well,
what you're-
just fasted training in general,
Okay.
any sort of training.
Okay.
And so, just because you're not hungry doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need to have a little bit of something if you're noticing any issues with your reproductive health. So, like your menstrual cycles are off or anything like that. Like, you probably want to start fueling your training a little more adequately. And same goes for males. Like just eating around training, maybe not necessarily before, but it is helpful for your hormonal systems to have fuel around that time, because the what goes on inside your body right when you get done training is amazing. And so like it really, really helps to have that fuel within a couple hours. We got 2 more, we may as well do them. Who was that one?
Yeah, that was Ada. Does that
right,
mean it's
Michael.
my turn? Mm-hmm. All right, you got a timer going, Ada?
Yep.
Hang on, I gotta read it first.
I can get it up here.
Wait, didn't we have this one already? When is it important to go through the motions and not obsess over technique?
Oh, so this is the opposite of before. So like
Okay.
why is the technique so important when you should not go through the motions? When's it important to just go through the motions and not obsess over technique?
Okay.
So it's opposite to what we did before.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess we kind of touched on this already. I know go through the motions. Maybe that means something a little different in my head, but I think the idea is when you stop obsessing over technique. And
That's
I
the
think
important
once
part.
your technique is, once you've developed a solid foundation of technique, then I think we've already touched on that a few times. Paige really was talking about how it's time to start pushing the pace a little bit, add some more weight, challenge your body a little bit more, challenge yourself a little bit more.
Listen to when your coaches tell you to do this.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the same thing. That's where the relationship that you've built with a coach over time really helps, because you get an outside observation to look over your shoulder and say, hey, everything's looking good. Add some weight. Let's
Yeah.
Increase this challenge a little bit
And
more.
that's why I do CrossFit.
Push yourself a little bit. Yeah. And like today's a good example of that. We drilled technique on everything, and then we're like, all right, go heavy. All right, now we're just going to go through the motions as an email. That was the whole purpose of this one, honestly. So we're doing today was the clean and jerk day. You practice the cleans, practice the jerk, try to increase your weight on the clean and jerk with good form, and then we're going to back it off and just do like a moderately, like a challenging load, but over and over, just to build that. The whole purpose of that was kind of to build that pacing, that breathing, that bracing. And so like you just basically just going through the motions, doing your clean and jerks. I'm sure a lot of you weren't thinking as in depth about your reps as you were on the first 6 minutes of the workout as you were on the last 9. So like that's a perfect example of when you should just kind of go through the motions, and your body will kind of fall into rhythm, and you'll get that training adaptation that we're looking for whenever you just kind of just start moving through it.
Yeah, we really do just build this into our class structure. I mean, we kind of take it for granted because that's just the way we do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Paige, you're really good with the
I was gonna
programming,
say,
and
that's
like
something that's come on recently that I
This
noticed
is-
with this.
I don't know. I've said this to Paige a few times over the last little bit that, you know, just the structure of this workout, the way it was written on the board was so fantastic because, you know, we had a general warm up and then the workout just kind of took you through technique, drilling that, and then adding weight as we got more comfortable with it. And then by the time you're heavy or by the time you are going fast, you've drilled this
You've got it in
movement
you.
quite a bit. And so
Yeah.
you've got the movement pattern down. And so
Drilling is
me
huge.
as a coach, like by the time we get to that point, like there's not really anything for me to worry about anymore. Like I'm still watching and looking for things that might be a red flag, but for the most part, by the time we get to that point, I'm like, man, this is looking good. Like if anything, I'm telling somebody, hey, you could add a little bit of weight to that if you
Yeah.
wanted. So just like I say, I just take it for granted sometimes because it is so built into our program.
Right on. Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right. Last
question
one.
Last one of the day.
Why do my wrists hurt when I front squat?
Tell us, Rage, why do they?
So front squats, a lot of times is difficult for people to get their elbows up high enough to get their wrists in more of a flattened position in relation to the bar. So like think of if your tricep was parallel, your tricep is the back of your arm, Ada.
Yeah, I know that one now.
Yeah, we had to have an anatomy lesson the other day. So if the back of your arm or your forearm and the top of your arm aren't kind of up into a almost parallel to the floor position, then your wrist is going to be more flexed, and so that weight is going to put more pressure on top of your wrist, pushing down towards the floor rather than just sitting on the front of your shoulders. So your lat, that big muscle that runs from pretty much the top of your butt up to the bottom, the top of your arm into your armpit. So think of it, it spans all the way across your back. If that's super tight and limiting you from getting your elbows up into a good position, then it can be really difficult on the wrists because it adds a lot of pressure onto those wrists. There's also a few other things, like maybe your grip is too close, and so your elbows are caving in towards each other and it's adding a lot of pressure onto your wrists. Or some people I've seen even grab the bar too wide. That one's a lot less common. It's typically not a forearm issue. Like if you can put your palm on a table and like bend your wrist at basically 90. So if your middle finger and your wrist make a 90-degree angle, then your wrist is flexible enough. Like that's not an issue. It's probably the fact that your lats are really tight and limiting you there, or maybe the external rotation in your shoulders is really limiting you. So that's where mobility comes into play, and it's super important to build that mobility to be able to get in a good front rack position. Or it could even stem all the way like down to your hips, ankles, or knees if you're so immobile down there that you're dumping your chest forward, and that puts more pressure on your wrists also. Like there's a million things it could be, but a lot of times when we have it's a lot of males when they come in that are really tight in the lats because they haven't really done a lot of overhead work or front rack positional work. They're just a lot of times tight in the lats, and you just have to bang away at those lats basically and stretch and mobilize and work on active mobility in those positions. So like, you know, pressing to an overhead position and stretching that out is really hard to talk about this. We'll have to like give you guys some drills. If you feel like that's you, let us know and we'll give you some actual
Ding,
stuff.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Happy
Well,
with the coaches.
Michael has more to add
one
to
more
that.
thing.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think that it's one of those things that almost everybody's going to struggle with in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's just, you know, it's a tightness issue for most people in the beginning, and it's also a positional issue for a lot of
exactly what I
people,
was gonna
for
say.
almost everybody in the beginning. So in the beginning, I can almost guarantee you'll feel a little weirdness in
Yeah.
your wrist, but then the more you do it, the more things loosen up.
And you're just not used to it.
Right? Yeah, it's just a
My
weird
back
movement.
straight, I think is huge for me when I think about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
my back's straight, then my chest comes up, and that helps with the mobility of my
Yeah,
elbows.
so the more you do it, the better it gets. And then the more you experiment, a lot of times you can find different hand positions that work better. You can find different foot positions that work better, to speak on the hips and things like that. But it's one of those things that you definitely shouldn't avoid because
Yeah.
it's like anything else. We want to avoid the things that we're not good at, and we just
Yeah,
double down
that's
on the
the
things that
worst
we're
thing you can
already
do.
good at. And so you never get any better at the weaknesses, and then you just double down on your things that you're naturally strong at, which tends to just exacerbate the problems that you've already got. So it's really important to show up. Like, sure, it's going to be a little weird. We may make some modifications to things, but it gets better as you go. And progressiveness over time is what you've really got to think with almost everything we do in here, and specifically this one.
Exactly. Yep.
I love you guys.
Oh, we love you too, Johnson.
All right, that was
Well-
fun. Next time we need some questions from you guys. We just made all these up.
I think they were good questions, though.
Yeah, they were good.
Well, a lot of these are just a collection over time,
Yeah.
when we get questions.
They're technically from you guys, but just
Most of them were from me.
over time.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Right
We're
on.
just going to dive right into the finish. 3, 2, 1, bye!